sharing is very important for us. I can have a system student development project that can power generation, it can do chemical production, it can do recycling metals, whatever. But sharing isn't a problem if you can solve it. So this is number 2. It's an increasing demand of ability to solve problems. Nobody talks about calculus or algebra but ability to solve problems. You need the background, don't go there. When we talk about linear algebra or calculus or even complex algebra, that is wrong with them. If they can be used to solve problems. Right? Number 3, I'm not going into detail, but number 3, look at it. This is very important. Self-management. This is what the Bible says about the first life. Right? Because you have to ask yourself, what am I here for? What am I going to achieve? When I finish this part of my life, so what? All this you can get from your first life, from your reference point, from your religion, if you like, from your discipline, from different directions. But this is very important, self-management. Because self-management is not about the technical knowledge. That's why our students in underlevel the courses, also the courses, we just impact the character, impact the right ability to manage themselves. So I will not go into all of them. Look at number 4. Working with people. In fact, this is very important. Because these days, we are becoming a global village. Whoever you are, you must have interacted recently with somebody away from your culture, from your religion, from your region. 20 years ago, we were preparing graduates for work in Kano, in northern Nigeria, or in Nigeria. Most. But today, we have to prepare our graduates to work with Indians, Chinese, whatever. Very important. So that you have to be able to interact with people. I can give you a simple example. I have my daughter is a family that has a company. And she that company on LinkedIn. Last year, somebody contacted her from the US by email that they would like to know. You came to this daddy. Somebody was to talk to me from the US. So why? Then she checked their company, their website. They are an NGO that gives support to small companies. Anywhere in the world. So they saw her company, Mahathir, and they wanted to talk. So I encouraged her to know. He was an Indian for years, looking for companies in developing countries, especially money for women, to help them. So you have to be able to really work with people of different backgrounds, different nationalities, different religion, whatever. So we have to break that barrier for our students. Don't be shy. You can be shy, but be able to really talk. So I will not go into detail because we have time. I plan to talk for about 40 minutes. So these are the 4 I will emphasize. So don't forget, these are skills. They are CEOs. Which of these will be increasing by 2025? Which means the demand really is high. So keep this in mind. First of all, critical thinking analysis, problem solving, self-management, and what you do. Next slide, they asked the same survey. It was the World Economic Forum. Can you see there? They were asked, among all these skills, which one is number 1? That will lead to graduate to be employed or be self-employed. Can you see? The attribute number 1, that they all agree, is that the graduate should have analytical skill and innovation. Right? Analytical skill and innovation. So, because we can go into detail about that, we can break it into components, we can even show how do we teach innovation. All these are different discussions. But keep this in mind. Number 2 is the student should be able to engage in active learning. Because these days, what's about knowledge is most of what we know, you know yourself, not in the classroom. So active learning means the teacher can engage you and encourage you to go out and get more. Based on your own style, based on your time, sometimes at night, sometimes on the internet, sometimes in the book. But whatever is your style, you should be able to engage in active learning that you can learn new things. Number 3, can you see the best the last slide, complex problem solving. We should not be teaching our students simple problem solution. It has to be complex. So when you develop that character, by the time they graduate, they are ready to face real life problem. One other problem we have in Nigeria is we prepare a graduate, very smart student. I am saying it in my university. But once they are passing through, it's very simple, clearly. So there's no way they can face real life. Because it's similar homework, sometimes it's available in the computer center, the person project, the coming from previous year. So by the time they graduate, they are good A, but the A in what? A is simple problem. So when you see complex, ignorant problem. Next is critical thinking and creativity. I will stop here. So again, this is from the survey at the World Economic Forum. So just to give you a flavor of what are the skills that should be able to impact on our graduate, so they are able to get employed or they are self-employed. Now, if I summarize the whole story, if I check different sources, what are the key critical skills? Next slide summarizes 8 of them. This is their core 21st century skill. In this one, anywhere you go, anywhere you check, you have this in different variation. So please, as teachers, as policy makers, we should be able to understand what the student needs. For example, yesterday we had the matriculation, and I was very glad when the vice chancellor said we got about 450 students, right, on this year. Believing that in the next 5 years they will be better. That's why they're here. They're there to invest money at this very material time, believing that these 8 skills will be impacted on this graduate. So that remember that E equals what?
Yes.
Remember the formula?
S.
E equals K plus A plus S. So the question the parents are asking now, right now, I've put this guy to you, CCU. You promise that you are going to impact us on him. What combination of this do I expect? Because these are the key skills. And nobody can argue against this. Nobody. From point of view, culture, religion, whatever, nobody can argue against this. You can add more. You can say, well, for me, I want number 9 or number 10, but nobody can say, I don't like ability to solve problem. Nobody will say that, right? I don't want creativity. I don't want flexibility, whatever. All these are very well researched and put into very simple terms that you should be able to understand. So these are the attributes. Because I'm just making different times. These are the attributes that graduate of CCU should exhibit when they graduate. What is the attribute? Something that you show, right? Something that somebody talks to you will see or will feel. Attribute is like a characteristic. Now, how do we put this attribute into our teaching and learning process? I'm going to show that later. But these are the key attributes that if you have them, I can actually 100% graduate will be employed. Not a single will be unemployed. The one you would like to be unemployed, perhaps, is the one that doesn't need to be employed. You would like to be something else. But the skill will be, you will have the skill. Next slide shows what is OBE that we can use to impart this skill. OBE is simply outcome-based education. Next slide. It's animated next. It's okay. So I'm summarizing a very long story into 3 slides. OBE means outcome-based education. It's a very beautiful approach to teaching and learning process. And the more I read, the more I believe it's the best approach. If I go back to our madrasa and our school, they have been applying similar. But now in a modern approach, it's captured here. It is approach education whereby all teaching, all the process of teaching are geared towards what the student can do, rather than what teacher can teach. You just say it, right? Currently, we say how much we have covered in your class. Did we miss any week? Right? That's how what we do. Even NEC application is similar. We check how much we have done. But in OBE, we ask the same but different way. How much have you impacted on the students? So that I can see them in terms of their skill, knowledge. I care about what you teach, but the important one is what can they do? Second question is, they can do advanced standard. Can you see my case earlier comment that they can solve a simple problem is not a problem. They should be able to solve complex problem. So it's a good assessment. Can you see? So the doing must be shown as they must do it at some standard. Are they beginner standard? Are they intermediate? Or are they professional? When they graduate from CC computer engineering or computer science, can they code at what level? Are they beginner coders? Are they intermediate coders? Are they professional? Proficient? Can they code some problem that we can solve? If I want to go to secondary market to solve a problem, can they code so that they can be like program ready to be used? So that's number at most standard. Number two, if you would like to apply OBE, you structure your curriculum. You structure your reporting process, your semester, your homework, your field trip, whatever you have, are structured to reflect achievement of high order learning. So it's very simple process, if you like to do it. Number one, we are doing everything asking for what can they do, right? Number two, we structure our system. So that when they will say homework number one, number two, number three, there is a meaning to that. When we say this course is prerequisite, this course, there is a meaning. When we say no, the level they go for IT, there is a meaning to that. Everything is towards what they can do. Again, next slide shows before that. Yeah, again, it's supposed to be like 5-6 slides, but I separated them into one slide, showing you the principles of OBE. This was developed by William Spivey. Can you share it at the bottom? This whole idea of OBE. And I have a book I can give you. I have it in my computer now. A book on OBE, recently released. So what are the principles of OBE? These are 4 principles. Now, if you look at them, you can see it's very easy. Number one is clarity of focus. What do you want to achieve? In terms of KSA. Remember our KSA? Clarity of focus as a teacher, as a dean, as HOD, as vice chancellor, as a university. This university should be known for what? That is clarity of focus. Short term, long term, what do you like the student to do? Number 2 is design backward. After deciding what you should do, you can ask a question. Yesterday we had a population 450 students. What do I like to be doing by 2028 after graduation, right? Whatever I decide, I design backward, right? Year 1, year 2, year 3. If you ask me why, because I want them to do this by 2028. If you ask me why this guy is being delayed or received, because he's not ready for 2028. Already I have decided what we'll be doing by focusing, number 1. Number 2, I'm designing backward. I'm going to show you the backward steps. But you have to design backward. Whatever we do today, there's a reason. Number 3 is very important. This is always repeated. Teachers should have high expectations for the student. But typically, you see teacher and student that you are condemned, you fail. That's not in OBE. OBE, you always believe the student can do. They call it student-centered learning. He's slow, but he's good. Right? That's why you have minimal requirement for admission. Maybe he prefers to be at night, prefers to be explained properly. Maybe the language is good for him, he's from the village, nobody has seen him like that. Right? So you have to consider a student. Maybe he's shy, he's from different culture, different religion. Very good. I remember when I was teaching in Oman, we were having the accreditation, OBE accreditation. And for communication skills, you have to have eye contact. So I was explaining to the student, be ready for interviewers coming from the US. Of course, half of them were female, half male. So when I explained the communication skill, the grammar, the oral communication, the eye contact, one guy said, look, in my lecture, I don't have eye contact with anybody. Especially explain them. So the lecture is important. Of course, here I have similar issues. Sometimes you don't just look at somebody, especially a male. So you have to look at the student's background, what he can do, what he cannot do. As a teacher, you see what can I do help him. As we know very well, we have different styles of learning. Some will read forever, some will read short and break. Some prefer to do the others, class is started, right? Some prefer to be 11-year-old. So this is very important that every student is good. We don't condemn anybody. Look at last one, number 4. They are making number 4 to number 3. We should give external opportunity. Do we have more labs? Do we have more practicals? Do we have more theory? What the combination do I need to combine together so that my student can have the mental learning? If I want to give break, how long should I give break? These are very important, right? So these are the 4 basic principles. As I said, it's a very long discussion with examples, but today we are going to just summarize this topic. Next slide shows, this is very important, next slide. Click, until the last. Okay, now, backward. Okay, enough. Okay, enough. Or one step back. Fine, okay. This is what we have today. I always like to show this slide because as of today in Nigeria, by AUC regulation, by world regulation, this is what we do. I do it every semester application. When we go to university, what do? We look at the inputs. We look at the process and we look at output. They gave us the example of the passport papers, the graduation dates, whatever. And then of course we check to see everything's okay, we give them our comments. This is completely obsolete. Not a single advanced management is in this. We learn from somebody that somebody has already changed from the UK perhaps. Because it doesn't give you, when you say you have graduation, student graduate. Remember my question, KSA? They have graduated very good. But what combination of KSA do I have? Why do I do KSA? Because of E, remember? The formula is saying what? E equals what? It's equal to A from the K plus S plus A. So when I have graduates, it's good news, this is called output. What does it do? What problem does it solve? That's why they get employed. You always get employed, it's a problem. You always get employed to offer salary to somebody. So if graduate can graduate, it's okay. But then what does it do? If it cannot do, what's the benefit? Because we always go to school to learn. Nobody goes to school to just study over here. It's for here and now. So really we need to be able to do it properly. So this is completely convenient. Next slide. Nobody will follow this. What you follow is next one. Click, we don't have time. Okay. Enough. Back. Enough. I'm quite controlling myself. Here, we are showing that we have the same input. Nobody is asking to change input. We have the same curriculum. Obi is not asking to change anything. Can you see? We have the same graduation. Can you see? Same graduation. But we ask questions. Remember director focus? We say number 1, what do you want the student to be doing in a long term? Or in the short term? Or at the classroom? So the best question that we ask ourselves, at the classroom, after this class, what I would like my student to be able to do in terms of KSA, remember? After this class. That's why I say the outcome of this lecture, I give 4 outcomes, remember? So after this lecture, you have 4 outcomes. So even in your classroom, there must be clear, immediate outcome. At last clear. This is what we call CLO, course learning outcome. It's weekly, or in every class, or in every time, but that course will show me what the objective. Next, at the graduation, I have what we call program outcomes. When I combine everything together, when I say the students are ready in character and learning, they go out during the convocation, what do they have in terms of KSA? Because in all universities, all over the world, whether you go to school in the US, or in the UK, or in Nigeria, they always give you KSA, nothing more. It's either knowledge, skill, or attitude. If you go to MIT, it's the same, or BUK, or AU, you only combination that's different. Right? When you go to MIT, when you come out with different attitude, you call it international student. If I go to BUK, you don't have to. If you go to AU, CCU, it's a combination, but it's always KSA. Now, the next one is to show you the importance of OBE. Not only do I talk about what the student should be able to do at the time of graduation, I ask very important question. What should they do after graduation? What they get employed? This is the program education objective. Long term. But you see, so I'm asking question. The students who are going to be in this university next week after this graduation, I'm going to be following looking at CLO. So the quality assurance department will be checking the dean, will be checking the CLO every week, every semester, every time. At the graduation, we'll be looking at the PO, program outcome. Not only that, we have to anticipate. Because instead of going to work in Kano or in northern Nigeria or in Nigeria, what problems are they likely to encounter? Can they solve this problem once they go to work? I guess they have to be ready. So please keep this in mind. The clarity of purpose means we have long-term purpose, when they start work outside. We have the immediate purpose, once they graduate from our university. And we have today, right here and now, purpose in every classroom, in every term, in every homework, in every whatever we do. But that's the meaning. There's nothing in the university that is useless, right? I agree. Whatever we do to students, there is a meaning. If I say they must be class on time, by 8 o'clock they have to be, it's attitude, right? But I say they must be allowed to go, it's attitude. But I say not my office door before I get there, attitude, right? So we believe by following this in 5 years, they'll be different from other students. Next is to show the next slide. Aha, very important slide. Go back. You can stay here or you can go back. If you have conventional teaching and learning process, you can see the other color. This is the research well done in 1956. Well research performed. This is a normal profile of the conventional classroom. When you teach properly, teaching a student, there will be some with A somewhere here. You see A and B. There will be some public students. There will be C's. There will be some D's. So this is a normal distribution. It has been well established. If you follow OBE, another name is mastery learning, you will push. You put a student the blue one. You will push the student capacity into the blue. Can you see the blue one? Blue one has two clear observations. Number one, you can see the number of students with that particular capacity has changed. Can you see the number of students? Now we have higher number of students who have higher capacity because it's the exam score. That is much more higher. Can you see? Number two, we don't have any low grade. We don't have D and E's because the minimum is like C, right? Because OBE, as we said, you already have the clarity of purpose. You know what you will be doing. You know what to correct. You know what to improve every semester. So you don't have students who are really famous. Next slide shows. In fact, the most important one is how do we have students with backward, the student with last one, just for completeness. The most useful approach to have high impact is what we call one-on-one mentorship. Of course, it's not possible to have one student per one teacher, one student. So what do we do? We have counseling, we have learning coordinator, we have student advisors. They really help the students. Because one-on-one means you know the student very well. In fact, that's a very interesting. Some of you are aware. For the first time, Harvard University, they are having computer teaching students. Some of you must have read. ChatGPT is now teaching one of the classes. So ultimately, the objective is there will be one-on-one teacher-student ratio. The computer can teach you and also you live from your eyes, from your body language, everything you can also teach. So the objective is ultimately computer can be teaching students one-on-one. At that time, we don't know our grades as teachers. But that is the final objective. And once I study something, expect more and more subsequently. For the first time in human history, computer was assigned a class. And we do everything we do by computer. We teach you, assignment, planning place. If you are questioning us, nobody will be very you. So this is the ultimate objective actually. And you can see the benefit. You are pushing everybody to A, because it's around A, right? Everybody get a very high grade. Because you know what he needs. If you like to jog, you go class and jog. If you like sweet, you get sweets. If you have to frown, you have to frown. Somebody has to slap you to sit down properly. So depending on the next slide, okay, this is somebody else story. How do I now develop BE for better employability? If you like to do it in your own class or your own university. So this is somebody else story. Can you see? You define your employability skill. Remember? I mentioned to you 8 of them. I don't know who can remember any one of them. The first one, the graduate should be able to
Problem solving.
problem solving. Complex problem solving. I say yesterday I could see problems, I could see opportunities. Somebody was talking about wire snatching. Now it's a problem in Kano. I live downtown in the city. Wire snatching is a problem, right? But wire snatching means unemployment. Because if you are employed, you are likely to snatch wire. But how much are you snatching actually? How much is the answer? They are snatching Android, not snatching iPad or iPhone. They are snatching things like my own phone, which will be I don't know how much. But wire snatching is a problem today, right? Simply because nobody is creative to bring solutions. Maybe CCU can consider that. Because for me, I can see many examples of things that we can do. If I give you 1 minute, I can tell you very simple story. I'm sure Professor Aka say can correct me if I'm wrong. Right now, Nigeria import pharmaceutical grade starch. And you have to sell everywhere. So you wonder what to do this much. We import pharmaceutical grade starch. While we have graduate unemployed. Very simple. Starch, just clean it, you have pharmaceutical grade starch.
And we are the world cacao.
Number one cacao. So you can understand, right now, in 2021, we imported 2.7 billion fish from fish water.
We have 378 dams.
Dams in the country. So you can see, whenever it's a problem, just solve it, you get employed, you get job. Right? Everything that's important in Nigeria, it means unemployment, or how do you call it? Exotic employment.
And so
Somebody else. Right? So if you talk about commodities, rice, this is what the issue I gave you at the beginning, right? It doesn't sound workers in India. Even within a big place, like the CEO or the student, each one of them. If you know what's the need, right? Employability, ask somebody, what do you need in the next 5 years? Then now I can take your excuse that nobody, tell me what you need in 5 years, I'm preparing. Right? That is not design backward. Tell me what you need in 5 years, I don't want to story. By 2028, tell me what you need. So I want to CCU and do my PO, my PO, my CFO, right? If you student complain, I say, I'm waiting, I go to nobody. Get ready. So I keep on doing it. Can you see? So by the time they graduate, they're ready for, or they're ready for starch, or pharmaceutical, or whatever. Because you have to get ready for them, for that particular time. After I do that, can you see? I have to remember attribute, problem solving, flexibility, communication skill, remember? I have attribute which I convert into my program outcomes. And then finally I have my classroom, can you see zero? So everything is connected together. I like this diagram, everything summarizes into one particular machine. So this 3 clear objectives, short term, long term, gives you the whole summary of the story. I have long term, what they will do when they go to everybody. I have short term, what they will do at my graduation time, and I have classroom object. I'm repeating myself, just for you to really appreciate the importance of this. Next slide shows the summary of what we call the struts of outcome based education. Question number one you ask yourself when you enter classroom as a teacher, or when you give instruction as a dean or HOD or as vice chancellor, what exactly do I like my student to take home? KSA. Do I want more knowledge? Do I want more skill? Or do I want to change their attitude? Even when they live on the street, they say, oh, you must sit on CCU. You say, yes. What you show? Right? For this, the author of the Salah, who said, if you read the Salah, he said, if you read the Salah, very well, even in that case, if somebody touches you, in just a way, you know that the guy was a real Salah. I don't know that information from the author of the Salah. Alright? I've been away from school for a long time, so I can't remember the exact point, but that's the point. So, how do I know you're from TCU? Not from, I don't want to mention it. That's exactly. The way you, it wasn't the way you speak, the way you articulate your point, the way you argue. Because if you see that from AD, you know it's from AD, right? Number 2, student-centered learning. for me, really very important. I always sometimes cry. If the teacher ignores the students, we have different backgrounds, right? Sometimes, and the very important area we know, assessment. How do we know that after all the efforts we have been able to impact anything on them? Anyway, that's the question you have to answer. When you bring so many results to the dean or to the vice chancellor after the semester, how do I know that these numbers A and B and C, which are very good, but how do I know that are case A behind? Very important. The way you know is very simple. The assessment method. When I give exam all the time, there are different, about 20 different ways that you can assess students. In our expanded OBE presentation, we always give assessment method. So please keep this in mind. If I would like to know attitude, I can give yes or no, or true or false, right? If I would like to know ability to solve complex exam problem or complex problem, I can give A, B, C, D, choose one. No, I get a project that's complex. And then guide them solve that problem. And then on this one, I know how much I have and how much to solve. And tomorrow at high level, I decrease my head, right? So I can see how can they in real life solve complex problem. So this is very important. Assessment is very important. Sometimes you observation. It's another method for assessment. You ask a student to solve problem, 5 of them, then you sit down and see how they argue the point, how they plan their solution. And then you take record. Sometimes you fear, right? Assessment. One of them will tell you what others are known, and the other guy will tell you about others. Sometimes not you, when they go for IT, you ask that guy to assess, compare with others from different places. Sometimes the parents at home can be asked, do you see any change? How do I improve? It is meeting your expectation to see you, or we are doing too much or less, whatever. How do you compare us with siblings of this guy in the UK or in somewhere? So you can see really how you benchmark. All these are assessment. Last one is about continuous quality improvement. And this is a completely new concept in the country. Right now, AUC is adding into the CCMAS or CC, what's the new one? CCMAS, right? And then already is doing it. Because the new concept to us in Nigeria, continuous quality improvement. If you are good, tomorrow you'll be better. Right? That's a good whole idea. If you are good, there's no problem. You are good, fine. In 5 years, you have to change. But things are changing. If you are static, according to the new correct approach, you have negative. Because you must change in the next 5 years, because the world is changing. So in CCU, there must be evidence that every year we attempt to improve. From agreement planning, whatever. But they're going to be static. In fact, we are seeing the most important change in human history, as far as we know. Very rapidly in the last 5 years, in the next 5 years. Medicine will change. Locally, nationalities are changing. All this global warming, all this poverty, Russia, Ukraine. Nobody knows actually what happened. I sometimes pity students because I don't know what will happen to them in the next 5, 10 years. So the university administration was supposed to take that into consideration. I don't want to produce students up to the next slide shows the identity notes. Before this. This one. Yeah. It's supposed to take my instructions, but I'm going to check. Before this one. This one. You see, because you're doing the once. And I want to say next once. Otherwise, give me the words. Now, how do you formulate? Because I have been telling you stories. And I promise you that by the end of this lecture, you will be able to formulate some of them. We have 10 different components of the OBE. So I'm just giving you a flavor. I can take 1 or 2, but now I have 3. This 3 I summarize it into something that you can take away. How do you formulate, I have my water here. Give me my water. How do you formulate these 3 different components of OBE? Please keep in mind, we have 10 of them. I mentioned at the beginning. If you go to some other literature, some other countries, then you have 8. They are absent by all these 10 are there. Because you can collapse it into one. You can collapse it into one. Right? Very important. So now how do you formulate it? Remember what is DO? Who can remember what is DO? I'm trying to be a very good classroom teacher. Who remember what is DO? 100 naira.
100 naira.
Yeah. If you cannot, I will make it higher. You know, in teaching methods, you have to motivate them. It's sweet or money. VO.
Let me try. Program evaluation outcomes.
Oh, very good attempt. By God. Very good. Okay. Anybody else? VO. Okay. Finish it. Good. Okay. No, it's supposed to be program educational. Outcome is okay, but there's a better one we use. How different word? It's program educational objective. Which I say, if you take it for Dangote, for an employer, I use Dangote as an example. That I'm preparing the student to meet that requirement. What is DO? Program outcome. What I would like to show on transcript in certificate that the student they have. Are you getting the difference? Because that's what I'm anticipating. It's the futuristic. But this one is what I really show clear evidence. What is zero?
Course learning outcome.
Course learning outcome. So in my course, I have outcome. So I believe from that picture I show you very big picture. If I have a zero correct, they will integrate into PO. And PO into PO. So I can take care of this 400 students. Like I have enough zero, and I expect by the grace of God, they will have the PO and then they will have the PO. Next slide, I'm not going into detail on this, but you see, you click more than once. Each click is one slide. So when I say one slide, click once. Okay? This is okay. No, this is not okay. Because you don't like this is not okay.
Because
you know, I'm observing CCU and I give my values. Normally we expect that every internet ahead, so we already have automatic scrolling. And we expect CCU to be more high, more IT,
more technical,
more IT savvy. So I can use my own support. Why should I say it's next slide. So you are ready to work for next lesson because I have to do for us. And we have training. Next slide. Okay, so just for you to take home, when we say PO, it's program education objective. What the attributes in that of knowledge, skill, and attitude that a student or graduate should exhibit 5 years after graduation. Right? So please keep this in mind. That actually is too much, OB is too much. Because these students, I want to emphasize, they are here CCU to get something out and get employed. Nobody comes to this place for here after. Everybody comes here to get some attributes that can make that reasonable. To be employed by somebody. Or even to employ somebody. So there must be something that is fair. So these 3 values in terms of knowledge, strength, and career. Next slide, quickly, we show you or maybe I got it wrongly. You have very sensitive computer, beautiful. So one touch on the key is give you
multiple slides.
Sometimes you have to positive, right? You have very high-tech computers that one touch translate into sequence. No, before this. Before this, there's something else. This is a summary of how you get PO. Before I want to complete my class, I'm a good teacher. So when you go home, this I just give an example. How do I get this PO? How? Number 1, you go and survey if you have alumni. Can you see? They are a very good source of information. You have graduated from my university 3 years ago. Telling me, honestly, what can I do better? Can you see? Every single guy will tell you. Because they are the recipient of their so please, this is one example. Number 2, can you see? Employer. There must be potential employer for a graduate. If there is no employer, no department, no program. That's why if you go to UK, USA, they close departments. There must be a potential employer. Otherwise, you're not doing anything. So you go to ask this potential employer. Can you see? Because going to be 3 of them, 5 of them, by telephone, by WhatsApp meeting, by Zoom meeting, just for them to tell you what they expect from new graduate. Can you see? So all these are expected from employer. Senior exits interview. Senior means the final student. You have been here for the last 4 years. What's your understanding of the market now? You are going out. From the job you are likely to do, are you ready for the job? You say, well, I'm not ready because now they need somebody who can speak better, but now I cannot speak. Or somebody who can program, or somebody who can synthesize, whatever. So it's good to get information from your exit final student. Next one is Industry Advisory Council or Advisory Committee. And this is now a requirement from NUC and even from Korean. Each program must have somebody advising you from industry. 3 or 4 of them telling you, well, we are producing this guy for industry. We are telling you what is expected from industry. It's not that you have it every day, but there must be somebody advising you. Otherwise, you are not producing graduate for that industry. Because you are in the university. So, curriculum committee, can you see? We don't forget about the actual academics because they also have their own input. Because there must be curriculum committee either at the faculty level or at the departmental level. That always help and improve the curriculum. And one thing about curriculum, please, I want to emphasize, I attended a workshop on this in the US. The same curriculum, you can change the examples, the case studies, the same content. But the way you change the examples and the case studies will reflect new changes without changing the content of the curriculum. The same curriculum, you can give the examples. The same program, you can program different softwares. So when you say curriculum, doesn't mean you have to change the curriculum, but you can emphasize the book, the arrangement of the courses, the emphasis on the content, the example we give, etc. So now, how often do you do this? Can you see? You can do it every 3 years. How often do you do that? You can do that every year. You can report. How about advisory work as in arrives? Can you see? Whenever you see maybe you have problem employment, your graduate are not getting employed, you say, okay, wait, let me ask the industry. Are we doing it rightly? Are we doing it the right way? Very important. So as you can see from the beginning, I told you, for OBE, it's impossible to have graduates that are not employed. Because already I know the industry what they need. Imagine this example I gave you. 11,000 Indians in Dangote refinery. If my target is to replace them, I prepare my graduate to replace those 11,000. Next. So as you can see, this survey is not, I'm not done everything. There are many ways that you can now get people looking from outside, right? So, as a summary, we are saying that if you do this exercise, it provides graduate special knowledge. For example, this is an example of the video. Let me see. I pick it from computer science program somewhere. To give you an example. Okay? We are saying that this program or department, they want to provide graduates with sufficient knowledge in computer science and possess the necessary skills to work in industry. So they bring all the skills that industry needs and focus on them. Because this is the objective. Can you see? Number 2, they would like graduates who are sensitive and responsive to society, culture, and environment. All these issues about greenhouse gases, about cultural issues, all these are part of my teaching and learning process. So my graduates are always sensitive because I wanted to be talking with Chinese, Indians, people are different religions, so they have to be sensitive in culture, and environment. Number 3, graduates who can design. You see? So I can see now design is part of my objective because I can see there's a need in the market for design. So you be able to design something for society. Right? As I said at the beginning, Nigeria imports every day starch for the pharmaceutical industry. How can I now produce them who can design a process to produce starch? We import fish and fish products. In fact, all the fish we eat, apart from this starch fish, is imported. Anything frozen, you see outside, all this on the other side, fish frozen, is imported from Netherlands, from other places. It's a big shame. Ethanol, we know ethanol, right? The one they call alcohol. We import 45 million liters every year. Ethanol is just an fermentation product. From outside. We import dry onion. Every day we eat indomie, right? We eat Maggi. Inside this indomie and Maggi there is onion. We import dry onion from India and other places. Well, we have unemployed graduates. I'm not talking about high-tech things. I'm talking about things that we can really, what I advise people as consultants is I point out this. Very simple thing that we can really replace importation. but we import anyway. I don't know why. Some of them they have very slight value addition. This type issue. I don't know why pharmaceutical industry cannot produce that in Nigeria.
And even petrochemicals, we import them.
Maybe that way we can say high tech. But something that is very simple, I don't know. We import softwares, these are another very important points. All these Google, all this WhatsApp, whatever, we have to do anything. Somebody. Why don't we have our own local search engine, whatever? Anyway, so this is design. Next is design who can solve, can you see, the kind of problem as employee or employer. If I'm in Kano, how do I see Kano in the next 5, 10 years? No Shara on the street. Very simple question. How do I produce students who will solve Shara problem? How can I produce students who can solve wire snatching problem? If you go to the USA, nobody can understand Shara issue, but I know it's a problem here and now. If I talk about wire snatching in Saudi Arabia, they think you're crazy. Nobody should snatch wire. But it is a problem here. Sometimes for the phone of 30,000 naira, they will open your stomach, they will cut you to your stomach. It happens. If you struggle, then they bring their knife. Drug issue is a problem. How do you solve it? Right? So now I'm talking about other things. I talk about starch and cassava. Now I talk about other things. Like all these are opportunity that really diversify. Next slide. Maybe it's slide show. My friend. Okay, fine. Next is number 2. The one that you produce the students as they graduate. We call it PO. So this PO again is very easy. Combination of employability, attribute, knowledge, skill, and attitude. So problem solving skills, communication skill, remember them? Visibility, teamwork, they are all there. Next one. Now, these are examples of attributes that we can impact in our students. If you remember the first one I mentioned earlier about 21st century skill is problem solving, remember? And the third problem, I broke it into 3, 4 parts so you can understand. Number 1, I should have my graduates who have foundation knowledge. So I'm not saying knowledge is nothing, because knowledge is what I put at the basis for anything I do. So if you know calculus or English grammar or English language, they are all usable. If I say they must communicate, that must be English class, for example, right? If I say they must design, that must be mathematics class. So all these are, so the first thing is you have to have, you see, this is called an attribute, and this is called the R form. Are you together? So the bolded font is the attribute. Attribute means the character that you can exhibit and show. Right? The attribute that I can see, so that the student can show. Then when you go into detail, they can demonstrate. So the attribute is the demonstrable part of the attribute that you are using. Remember what you do during the salah. You go to buy ram, you put your hand at the back and touch. You are looking for some attribute. Right? It must have some feeling. That translates into good meat. That touch has a meaning, right? It's not like out of person that we touch it. So this touching is the original. Like doing interview. I know that the thing you have the skill. Later we can see the detail. Number 2 is remember problem solving need analysis. I remember the survey. Analytical skill is important. Analysis means you have a problem, break it into components, and then bring it back later. Very simple. If I ask you to analyze this room, very simple. Two of us here, the rest are here. This is one way. 2 female, other male. This is one way. One red cow, other not red. So I can break into pieces. The later on I can say, okay, red cow and black cow should come into certain arrangement. This analysis. Shara problem. Each shara has metallic, plastic, and they have biomass. How does it it if I'm recycling? Biomass easy, I can produce biogas. Metal, I can melt it to produce another metal, right? Plastic, I can crush it and recycle it. So that's me, I do analysis. I can say the solid waste in the city has more of biomass. Maybe solid waste outside the city, they are richer than us in the city. Something else. So I can always have my analysis, and then if I, for example, I would like to produce this starch issue, I break it into pieces. Why we have to import starch? Maybe the production in the farm, we don't have enough yield. Maybe our own variety of starch. I'm trying, we have that, right?
Yes.
Maybe the variety, the quality, maybe the technical component. So all these analysis will give you the solution. Investigating, can you see? We are going step by step. How about I don't understand the system very well? It's not clear to me. I can start investigation. I can go to Professor University to help me in the lab. I can go to library. This is investigating, right? I can go online. Can you see? These are what I don't have what I'm looking for right now. So I investigate. An investigation means I ask somebody. I check literature. I go to lab myself. Can you see? All these are part of investigation. Can you see? Next one is design. Because whenever you have the problem solution, most likely you have to design solution. Whatever social system, you have to design something. And design is what gives you the creativity. Remember creativity? Because your design is different from somebody else's design. Next one is, number 5, is aha. Can you see? Because this is why we are failing also in Nigeria. We have to teach our students, and they have to be able to use modern tools. So if they are in mechanical engineering or in computer engineering, computer science, they must be able to use tools that is comparable with their peers in other places. I don't want to have a student who is graduate of CCU and he cannot communicate with a student from somewhere else in terms of tools. What program software do you use? You know. What kind of computer do you use? What kind of whatever tools that you need every day, and there are tools for different fields. Next one is mechanical skill. We already mentioned that. Across cellular, individual, anymore. Look at that, number 8. Because remember, it's part of the 8 we gave you at the beginning. Lifelong learning. Because this is a very important skill. One thing about knowledge these days is knowledge is perishable. Whatever you know today, it can be different tomorrow. So it's good to have that culture of lifelong learning. And look at number 9. You can add more, depending on the attributes that you like to see in your graduate. I was one time at one religious university. We wanted to add religion. Add it. Bible study. Add it. Like this is a covenant. They have this whole man, this total man. They are teaching you religious education for 100 levels. They have number 1 and number 10. So each semester is total man, total man. I'm sure you saw it already application. Each student must take total man as a course. So every semester you have component. It's about Bible, religious. So they could add that as their course because you want outcome as somebody to be religious from the graduate. Next slide shows, I'm not going to do this because it's in the detail. What's the why you have people. Next slide. This is number 3. The one that we said, after the classroom, after the semester, what do you want the student to be able to do in terms of knowledge, skill, and attitude? Can you see? By the end of the course, can you see? Or during the course, can you see? Very important. And when we come to accreditation, this is what we check. How do you teach? How do you have example of the homework? Or the exam number 1, exam number 2? What are inside? Is it just yes or no, true or false? Are you asking final students true or false questions? Or are you giving a real life complex problem? Because this is a reflection of what they learn actually. Next slide. We gave you, actually you have to write the video. I don't know whether I'm going to do it because this is very important concept. So when you come to develop your CLO, there's something called Bloom taxonomy. I'm not going to that, but that helps you decide the level. How deep you go in terms of teaching that concept. Are you teaching it at the beginner level? It's not available now. It's not accessible. The point is, when you're covering your course, you're teaching your course, you're teaching our CLO, there are different levels. I can say this part of the lecture is only introductory, so I would like my students just to know. And you see, I can say no, the same course, but now I would like them to be able to apply. So knowledge is going from application. Okay, so in another discussion, we can go into the next slide. Why do we need to have course? It's very important point. Because whenever we check our teachers to evaluate them, this is what we check, CLO. I would like to give promotion. I work in a place, every year they have to check your performance to give you next contract. Here we are happy, we have contract forever. But in other places, they might give you whatever I do, no problem. Until I'm 75 or 70. 70. So the kind of arrangement, now I'm 50 plus. But for the next 18 years, I'll do nothing. In terms of improving in ABU, I'll get my salary and bonus. Because it's not in the system. But I work in a place, every year you have to show appraisal, upon which they will say you have a new contract. Otherwise, they will say you have one more semester to prepare a new. Absolutely. So everybody was ready to add more examples, new videos. Because you have to show what are you adding new from last year. How are student evaluation? You have evaluation for students. You have to appreciate the content is good. That yes, you are doing well. And then you have to publish. Here you don't hear, you don't have a communication, you don't have anything. So
when we have the alpha form.
Okay.
When we have the alpha form. As we challenge it.
No, actually it's different story. But now it's reality.
Alpha form is can we assess the lecturers?
Yeah, okay.
And to know that all the people do is an assessment.
No, we don't want to go. This is recorded, so we are asking numbers. You have to be careful. When you take care, it's recorded, so you have to be. But the point is very clear. Please keep this in mind. As you teach, you can just Google it. Bloom taxonomy. It was developed by Benjamin Bloom, 1956, in the USA. And it's beautiful categorization of knowledge. There are different categories. Which one are you teaching? Right? Which one are you targeting? That's why they have linear algebra 1, algebra 2, remember? In school. Or embryo composition 1, 2, 3. Each one has different depths and contents. Next. Okay, another thing for the proper. Because this is why again we see. Define types and depth of knowledge, we see. Provide objective benchmark for assessment. You work as a teacher. You are assessing, remember I mentioned assessment method? You want this knowledge. But your assessment is wrong. Right? So the HOD can say, look, this assessment method cannot address this particular yeah, right? So very important. This is what I want to get out. And then communicate expectation to learners. So the student from the beginning, he knows that this are the expectations from the teacher. I can take it to my parents. Papa and Mama will know. They are not getting money for nothing. You can type by learning this. So this is how I communicate expectations. Clearly communicate very still to the stakeholder. Aha. Even your stakeholder, the employer, can know in the classroom, this is what you teach. Right? In fact, as a company, apparently, are looking for those students who have these attributes. In fact, despite unemployment, employers are still looking for some attributes. I can give you one example. There was a student, this is a very good example. My colleague in the university has a sister working in Lagos. And then she was looking for a student, young engineer, who can program Python. Python programming is one of the computer science programs. So it happened that we had a final year student who on his own was learning Python programming. So this my colleague sent the phone number, and by phone they talked to the student. Are you final year student? Yes. What Python are you learning? This is what I'm learning. From that level of Python, automatically they took him for NYSC. And he got employment later while doing NYSC in the company. So he was like already employed because he had what they were looking for in terms of the skill. And they wanted to fill that gap. It's in logistics. And now the guy is covering West Africa. Because already he had that programming language plus engineering degree. So he had really, so still that employees are looking for skills. Right? Unfortunately, we didn't give that skill. Including Dangote looking for 11,000, which we didn't give. I mentioned before. I'm sure it's not your job. There must be a reason why they employ from India. And I assume that it is because skill. So why don't you go say for that Christmas?
It's from India. The final technology is from India.
In fact, this I was saying the Vice Chancellor very much for this topic because now can you see the benefit? If you apply the OBE, we expect at least the gap can be minimized. Next slide. Here I was expecting that some of you may be interested. How do I write this yellow for my course? So I give an example. You can say, well, for this course, I take an example. The student should be able to design the site. Can you see? I say this yellow is okay, but it's not very clear. So that when I come to you as assessment for assessment, I can see they can design it. So what? How much design? But then it's better to say students should be able to independently design can carry out experimental and relational research. So design and experiment research, and you see a very system, experimental and relational. And they have to be independent. So I have to make sure that each student can do it. Not as a group, one is doing it. And point out some few challenges, because I've been talking to the last next slide shows what are the key challenges. We say why graduates are unemployed. Right? Already I answered this question by very simple way, that if we develop clear PO, we are going to narrow down that unemployment level. Because already we are producing for the market. I'm trying to emphasize this. I know that in real life you have to have IGR. You have to admit more, especially now with this issue of IGR. You see, the university will just admit, because I have to get the money, right? I have, if you can say now, they have to pay 100, how much? 100. So I look at the number. That money multiplied by the number. So I'm taking that number. Sometimes I forget about the quality, because I have target also for IGR. So unfortunately, for high quality, you have to control. Number two, graduates who are not prepared to meet the needs. So how do I do that? This is one of the problems we are facing. I make sure that they have the skill that I need. And I mentioned to you 8 skills, remember? We say they must be able to solve problems, they must communicate, they must be flexible, they must be creative, they must be able to have engage in lifelong learning, use modern tools. What else? And other skills that we need. Number 3 problem we have, we supply graduate higher than the demand. So in OBE, even the number is important. How many are you producing? In my department, we are producing 150 graduate chemical engineers. And 100% we know, then that number. Because there are some from UK, some from ATBU, some from different places. So the number is important. Otherwise, you can still produce graduates that are very good, but they are more than the demand. So it's very important to know the number you are producing. Our data teacher and learning method. I mentioned that even NUC is guilty. Because right now, what they are doing right now is the old method, the output. You can look at the KSA from the student. And as long as you look at KSA, their method is very old. In all the modern economies worldwide, if you look at top 10 or 20 economies in the world, there is an ODE approach. USA, UK, Japan, Canada, Brazil, they are all members of the International Approach and other institutions following the OBE. Lack of quality assurance, very important. Because all these CLOs are supposed to be under the quality assurance department to check to make sure that we follow what we are supposed to do. And then finally, poor learning environment. Especially not for this private university. In my university, very crowded classroom program. It's very interesting sometimes what we do. We have a class, I got the class last semester, 150 students, final year students. But the seats in the class could take only 60. So officially, that room was assigned to that class. Actually said this is the class I have. And admission was not from me, so managed. So whenever you don't have tests, you put the class, okay. When I test, you have to make it in 2 batches. So the environment is very poor. If there is no light, no convenience, teacher learning for this. In my university, you are aware, we are issuing the light for the whole 1 month, 2 months. We are struggling. So all these are examples of learning environment. Next slide. In case you want to remember anything, please print this and put it by your door. So every day you remember what it will be. This is summary of the story. Can you see? OB, as you say, clarity of focus. Remember? Clarity of focus. So these are the focus. PO, now we know what PO. POs say all together are our objective. Long term, short term. That how we get this from the university ambition and expected graduate attribute. Remember? We have graduate attributes. That's why we want them to be employed. And how do we get more? With people from industry. Remember I said we say questionnaire, industry advisory board. So what will help me to develop this at the program level, at the program level, departmental level. I can do that at the course level, Or even at institution level, I can say, what am I doing? Now, can you see the most important point is this one, because it translates into the current process. As you think this one is there, and we have assessment, and there must be different assessment method, right? And then you have the program assessment, which we do accreditation. Tell me everything about the program, how they're doing. Yes? And then we have the assessment for the student. And always you have to do the improvement. Remember the trust for OBE, continuous quality improvement is a key requirement. There must be level improvement. So this is a framework that summarizes the whole story about OBE. I already talked about this So next slide. Let me give you an example of very beautiful approach. And I like it very much. I always give it in my workshops. Next slide. Look at this. It's supposed to be animated, but it's okay. This is from one of the best universities in the world, NUS, National University of Singapore. If you are aware, it is one of the top universities in the world. What they did in their Department of Chemical Engineering, they were looking at employability and employment, and they are struggling how do they improve employment of their graduates. This is very important for me, so that at least for us as academic and policy matters, you can see how we can tweak and modify system to meet the student need and the faculty need. So when they look at the traditional approach to chemical engineering, and the students were not getting employment, what they did, they surveyed the environment. Can we see? They surveyed the environment to see what are the demands in terms of employment in society. So I can prepare my graduates to meet the demand. Can you see? So if you look at the central point, this is supposed to be can you see this one? This is supposed to be a traditional chemical engineering curriculum, preparing you to be a process engineer. And you go and work in the industry as a process engineer. But they discovered that there are many other demands that we can now dovetail, we can modify our system so that our graduates can go and do other works. Can you see? So what they did is very simple. They discovered that there was a need for pharmaceutical industry. Can you see? I talk about this stage. So they say, okay, you come to 100 level, 100 level, 300 level, having more requirement for engineering degree, but then we give you pharmaceutical engineering courses, and then we give you some pharmaceutical sciences about the regulation, about whatever, that will make it possible for you to be in the pharmaceutical industry. So that at least you can go and get employed there. You can be in society because there is a demand. Or they discover that we are demand in the community trading. What is community trading? Is trading of corn, millet, cassava, natural gas, oil. What do you do in the stock market? Sometimes I play with it when I have time. So you can go and become a trader of commodity, either online or offline. In the one who is what they are doing in commodity trade, billions every day. Right? So what they did is very simple. Look at it here. The same curriculum, and you see, engineering, 100 level, 100 level. But when you go to 300 level, you start taking economics courses. Economics. So that we prepare you, you can take ACF, data analytics. Sometimes as a hobby, I play with it. So it's preparing you to trade forex, to trade stocks, millet, corn, natural gas, whatever. And it's a big market that you can go and put your energy there and get money every day. Oh, look at this one. They discovered that there was a need in the microelectronics industry. The market engineer pushed into microelectronics so that they can go and take the same courses as given to you in the curriculum, but they started taking courses in microelectronics. Can you see? I'm a material engineer, and then you become expert for career in the microelectronics industry, computers, chips, iPhone, what's in the iPhone, etc. Or you can go into what is called technical framework. You become now entrepreneur, employing others. By giving you a course in Beijing, and you remember that requirement, 20% 20 skills. Number 2 requirement, they say they want ethical skill and innovation. So that they can give you more innovation, so that you become an entrepreneur. Right? So this is an example of application of OBE. Checking the environment, checking the society, see what they need, and therefore prepare your graduate to meet that demand. And this is my last slide. Next slide. Sorry, second to last. Let me summarize the story. Again, please take home this important information. PO, program, educational objective, what the student is supposed to be doing, not student graduate, student career after graduation. Number 2 is PO, what you should be doing in terms of KSA, open graduation. When you say they are already in character and learning, what do you do during the convocation? This is the CLO and the subject completion. During and after subject completion, what can they do in terms of what? KSA, right? Knowledge, skill and attitude. And of course, we have really applied properly. Let me see. For OBE, if you miss one component, that's a problem. So everything must be put together and implemented. If you miss one part, you will not get the whole picture. It's good to apply to the whole. And I believe 100% if you implement OBE, you can get the KSA that will lead to relevant employment because they are already preparing them for employment. And with this, I thank you very much for your time. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor El Yakubu. I believe this is a teaser of what I know El Yakubu can provide.
I was teaching to hear quite some detail, but I understand timing. I think we will allow some interaction. It's very important. A lot of senior scholars are here. We have seen most of them. We are trying to stroke that. So I will invite the contributions, the comments, and of course coaches, so that we'll be able to allow that contribution to run before we complete the lecture session. So please, ladies and gentlemen, any of you desire to intervene, we will allow. But can you should divide your hands so that it takes notes?
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
No, there are many of them will allow.
Yeah.
So let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go. First of all,
Right. I think you have to. Why is that alone? Because I love it.
First of all, let me congratulate you for this excellent consultation with the Prof.
Thank you.
As a next step, this is it. This is a political university that we a dedicated research organization person, which is going to be headed by a director, a senior professor, director, if we want really only content in this university. You see, one of the challenges of this OBE is in the planning of the curriculum. Although now NBC is currently trying to correct anomalies.
70%.
60 months at one, right? Because before they just organize offenses and then you know curriculum for so many programs without carrying along some of the stakeholders, especially at the industry. Now, totally neglected. So it's one thing in the curriculum which is, first of all, in the area gap, what are the programs in the area gap?
Someone check if there's kind of change. Please check.
The area itself. And then that one will help us to create programs here which ones solving that problem. So I think this is one of the things I like. Number 2 is how to assess our students. The level of understanding is another point. Because what we say now is we give CA, we give exams, assuming that yes, our students are well trained, which is not so. There are quite a number, correctly said, there are quite a number of ways of assessment. For instance, like good girls are sleeping. What the girls are sleeping, also, you may assume that she's not able. But ask her to sit down and and so now this assessment, this that of we should try to sort out. And also information of outdated teaching and learning. Yeah. What are the outdated teaching and learning? What are they? If you want to know, what are they outdated teaching and learning? And what are the modern method of teaching and learning? Please want some clarification in that aspect.
This is like a question. Because I'm very lucky that we have senior colleagues here. So I'm sure they can always chip in.
Yeah.
What I know, what I heard somebody say, for engineering, for example, something that I am familiar with, more than 70% of the curriculum in engineering, you cannot deliver it in lecturing. Unfortunately, we lecture on anything. Sometimes even with programming, we lecture, every lab, we lecture. In fact, some of the habits are attentive to practicals. Just give lecture, the student will write something as a practical. So one of the later methods is giving lectures for all topics. There are different approaches to deliver component of lecture topics without giving lectures. So more than 70% is very curriculum will not be delivered in lecture. Unfortunately, we need it every day. So you have, for example, simulation, you have laboratory practical, you have field work, you have observation by the students, you have different methods. I don't know if anybody can add more, but lecturing is outdated. Of course, we know it's very cheap, but lecturing is not impactful. There's no impact. The student will sit passively, and then you deliver, and then they know their head, and then you close the game. So it's always good to consider other methods. So active learning, simulation, computer-based learning, practical approach, project-based learning. We did project, and the solve it, ideas come out. So this project-based learning. All these are different methods. Of course, it takes more time, and they're more expensive, but they're better than others. And then there are many parts of the lecture that they need some tools to demonstrate. There is some clear tools to demonstrate. Sometimes we don't have. So the teacher will be explaining and talking, while a simple simulation is enough. A simple diagram is enough, right?